Captain Dominic Farrell squinted at the display screen, certain he had misheard his alien colleague. The bridge of the International Space Station Harmony fell silent as the other crew members froze in place. "I'm sorry, Nexra. Could you repeat that?" Dominic leaned closer to the screen, studying the vulpine features of the Centurion ambassador. Her silver-blue fur shimmered under the lights of her own vessel, currently docked with the Harmony. "I said," Nexra enunciated carefully, her translator device giving her words a slight metallic edge, "we need a nursery. The puppies are coming." Lieutenant Olivia Jackson, the station's chief science officer, stepped forward. "Ambassador Nexra, are you referring to offspring?" Her dark eyes widened with scientific curiosity. Nexra nodded, her pointed ears twitching with what Dominic had learned to recognize as anxiety. "Yes. My litter. They will arrive in approximately 14 Earth days." Dominic ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair. When Earth had made first contact with the Centurions 6 months ago, establishing a joint space station had seemed like a logical step toward diplomatic relations. No one had mentioned the possibility of alien reproduction. "I wasn't aware that you were." Dominic searched for the appropriate word, expecting. "Neither was I," Nexra replied, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. "Our reproductive cycle is triggered by certain cosmic radiation patterns. The journey through the Orion Nebula initiated the process." Technical Officer Wei Huang, who had been quietly monitoring communications, whistled softly. "So, we're going to have alien puppies on board?" "That wasn't in the mission briefing." "How many?" asked Dominic, already calculating the logistical challenges. 6, perhaps 7, Nexra answered, her tail swishing behind her. "They will require specific environmental conditions and care. I have transmitted the details to your system." Lieutenant Jackson was already reviewing the incoming data on her tablet. Her eyebrows rose incrementally with each swipe. "Captain, these requirements are extensive. Temperature control, specialized nutrition, sound dampening." Dominic nodded, his mind racing. The Harmony wasn't designed for childcare, let alone alien childcare. But refusing would certainly damage the fragile diplomatic relationship they'd been building. Not to mention the ethical implications of denying assistance during such a vulnerable time. "Ambassador Nexra," he said finally, "will make the necessary arrangements. The Harmony will accommodate your puppies." The word felt strange on his tongue. Relief washed over Nexra's features. "Thank you, Captain. My people will be grateful for your understanding. This is an unprecedented situation." After ending the transmission, Dominic turned to his crew. "Well, it seems we have a new mission parameter. Officer Huang, contact Earth Command immediately. Lieutenant Jackson, begin converting the auxiliary research lab into a suitable environment. We have 2 weeks to become experts in alien pediatrics." The following days passed in a blur of activity. Earth Command's response had been predictably mixed, scientific excitement tempered by diplomatic caution and military suspicion. Dominic had been instructed to proceed with the nursery preparations while a specialized team was assembled to travel to the Harmony. Meanwhile, Nexra's condition became increasingly evident. Her usually sleek form grew rounder, and she spent more time resting in her quarters aboard the attached Centurion vessel. The Centurion medical officer, Kelver, a stoic, gray-furred male with calculating eyes, began making daily visits to the Harmony to oversee the nursery preparations. "The thermal regulation is inadequate," Kelver noted, inspecting the converted lab. "Centurion pups require a temperature gradient. Warmer in the nesting area, cooler in the play space." Lieutenant Jackson made adjustments to her designs. "Like this?" she asked, displaying the modified schematics. Kelver's ears perked up, a sign of approval. "Better. The humidity levels must also fluctuate on a 6-hour cycle." As the requirements grew increasingly complex, tension began to build among the human crew. During a private meeting in his quarters, Technical Officer Huang voiced the concerns many were harboring. "Captain, these modifications are straining our environmental systems. If something goes wrong, it could affect the entire station. And we still don't know much about Centurion biology. What if their young carry pathogens our immune systems can't handle?" Dominic sighed, pouring himself a small measure of the bourbon he'd brought from Earth. "Valid concerns, Wei. But consider the alternative. We turn away a pregnant ally in need, potentially destroying any chance of peaceful relations with the first intelligent species we've encountered." Before Wei could respond, an urgent call came through. "Captain, this is Medical Officer Patel. Ambassador Nexra has collapsed in Corridor C. Her vital signs are fluctuating wildly." Dominic and Wei rushed to find Dr. Jasmine Patel kneeling beside the unconscious Centurion. Nexra's breathing was shallow, her silver-blue fur dull under the corridor lights. Kelver arrived moments later, pushing past the gathering crew members. He scanned Nexra with a device unknown to the humans, his expression grave. "The pups are in distress," he announced. "The radiation shielding in this section of your station is interfering with their development." He looked up at Dominic, his usually impassive face showing clear concern. "Captain, we need to move her to the nursery immediately. And I need to contact our medical vessel. The birth may happen sooner than anticipated." As they carefully transported Nexra to the hastily completed nursery, Dominic caught Dr. Patel's worried glance. This was no longer just a diplomatic challenge or a scientific curiosity. Lives, alien lives they barely understood, now depended on their actions. "Captain," Kelver said quietly as they settled Nexra onto the specially designed birthing platform, "there is something else you should know. This litter, they are not purely Centurion." "What do you mean?" Dominic asked, a sense of foreboding creeping up his spine. Kelver's eyes, silver like all Centurions but somehow more intense, met Dominic's. "Our scans indicate human DNA patterns intertwined with Centurion genetics. We do not understand how, but these pups will be hybrids, the first of their kind." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The mission had just become infinitely more complex, and the tiny beings about to enter the world would forever change the relationship between their species. The next 2 weeks aboard the Harmony station unfolded in a blur of activity, wonder, and unprecedented challenges. The hybrid pups developed at an astonishing rate, displaying characteristics of both species that left the scientific teams in constant amazement. "Their cognitive development is accelerating beyond our projections," Lieutenant Jackson reported during the daily briefing. She displayed brain scans on the conference room screen. "The language centers are particularly active. They're responding to both human speech and Centurion vocalizations. Their physical growth follows more of a Centurion pattern," added Dr. Patel. "They've already doubled in size and their motor skills are developing rapidly. The eldest female attempted to stand yesterday." Nexra, who had recovered quickly from the birth, nodded with unmistakable maternal pride. "On Centuria, pups begin walking within 3 weeks. These little ones seem eager to explore their surroundings even sooner." The nursery had become the heart of the station, drawing crew members during their off hours. Despite initial apprehension, the human staff had quickly fallen under the spell of the hybrid pups. Their large, expressive eyes, so human in their depth and curiosity, combined with their Centurion features created an irresistible charm. Technical Officer Huang had taken to recording daily development logs, capturing moments like the first time the male pup mimicked a human laugh or when one of the females discovered her tail and spent hours chasing it. "Captain," Nexra approached Dominic one evening as he observed the pups through the nursery window. "We must discuss names. In Centurion tradition, offspring receive their names on the 15th day after birth. That day approaches." Dominic considered this. On Earth, naming traditions vary widely. Some children are named at birth, others during special ceremonies days or weeks later. "What did you have in mind?" I believe these children belong to both our worlds, Nexra said thoughtfully. Perhaps their names should reflect this duality. I would like to propose a naming ceremony with elements from both cultures. The naming ceremony became an opportunity for cultural exchange. The station's common area was decorated with symbols from Earth and Centuria, and crew members from both species gathered to witness the event. Each pup received 2 names, one Centurion, one human, chosen to complement each other in meaning. The eldest female, with striking silver markings around her eyes, was named Lyria Estrella, combining the Centurion word for bridge with the Spanish word for star. As the ceremony concluded, an urgent communication from Earth interrupted the festivities. General Harrison's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grave. Captain Farrell, we've received intelligence that concerns your station. A radical terrestrial group calling themselves Humanity First has expressed violent opposition to the hybrid births. We have reason to believe they may have sympathizers among the supply ship crew scheduled to dock with you tomorrow. Dominic's protective instincts flared. Understood, General. We'll implement security protocols immediately. No one approaches the nursery without clearance. The threat cast a shadow over the station. Security measures were tightened, and the Centurion vessel positioned itself to provide additional protection. The supply ship was subjected to rigorous screening before being allowed to dock, and its crew was restricted to designated areas. Despite these precautions, tension aboard the Harmony remained high. The hybrid pups, oblivious to the controversy surrounding their existence, continued to thrive and charm everyone who encountered them. On the 21st day after their birth, as Dominic conducted a routine inspection of the station, alarms suddenly blared. Security breach in Section D. Officer Huang's voice announced over the communication system. Unknown substance detected in the environmental controls. Racing to the command center, Dominic found his crew tracking an unidentified compound spreading through the station's air circulation system. It's targeted, Lieutenant Jackson explained urgently. The molecular structure suggests it's designed to affect specific DNA patterns, a bioweapon aimed at the hybrid physiology. Dr. Patel was already rushing toward the nursery, emergency protocols activated. We need to seal off the nursery and switch to its independent life support system. The next hours were a desperate race against time as the crew worked to contain the sabotage attempt. The culprit, a junior technician from the supply ship who had managed to bypass security, was apprehended trying to reach an escape pod. Thanks to quick action, the bioweapon was neutralized before reaching the nursery. The pups remained safe, but the incident highlighted the precarious position of these unique children. 3 months after their birth, the hybrid pups had transformed the Harmony station in ways no one could have predicted. The diplomatic mission had evolved into something far more significant, a testbed for interspecies coexistence and family structure. The pups now moved confidently around their expanded living quarters, communicating in a fascinating blend of human language and Centurion vocalizations. They displayed remarkable intelligence, absorbing information from both cultures with ease. Earth and Centuria had both sent delegations to observe this unprecedented development, and the station had become a focal point for scientific and diplomatic interest throughout known space. Their bridge builders, Dominic remarked to Nexra as they watched the pups engaged in complex play that incorporated elements from both cultures. In their existence, they unite our worlds in ways treaties never could. Nexra's ears twitched in agreement. Yes, but they will face challenges we cannot fully anticipate. They belong everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. The truth of her words became apparent as discussions about the pups' future intensified. Where would they live once they outgrew the station? Which educational system would best serve their unique needs? Which planet's gravity would be more suitable for their developing bodies? Complicating matters further, both human and Centurion governments had begun asserting various forms of jurisdiction over the children, viewing them through lenses of national security, scientific advancement, and political advantage. They are children, not diplomatic pawns, Dr. Patel argued passionately during a video conference with officials from both worlds. Their well-being must be our primary concern. Amidst these tensions, the pups continued to develop their own distinct personalities. Lyria Estrella emerged as a natural leader, often mediating disputes among her siblings. The male, named Turan James, displayed exceptional aptitude for mathematics and spatial reasoning. Together, the six formed a tight-knit pack, demonstrating the centurion instinct for familial bonds while expressing them through more human forms of affection. 1 year after the unexpected birth announcement that had changed everything, Captain Dominic Farrell stood in the observation deck of the Harmony, watching Earth's blue sphere rotating slowly below. "Contemplating our place in the universe, Captain." Nexra joined him, her silver-blue fur now accented with the ceremonial markings of a centurion diplomat parent, a rank created specifically for her unprecedented situation. "Contemplating change," he replied. "A year ago, we thought this station would be a simple diplomatic outpost. Now it's becoming the first interspecies educational and research center." The decision had been made after months of negotiation. Rather than relocate the hybrid children to either Earth or Centuria, both governments had agreed to transform the Harmony Station into a permanent settlement, a neutral ground where the children could develop under the guidance of both species. "The expansion pods arrive next month," Dominic continued. "We'll have proper living quarters, educational facilities, research labs, and even hydroponics gardens. A real community." Behind them, the doors slid open as Lyria Estrella bounded in, followed by her siblings. At 1 year old, they stood nearly waist-high to the adults, their proportions a graceful blend of human and centurion physiology. "Show time now?" Lyria asked in clear English, though with the musical inflection characteristic of centurion speech. Nexra checked the time on her wrist device. "Yes, it's time for the transmission. Are you ready?" Today marked another milestone. The hybrid children would address both planets simultaneously in a broadcast that would reach billions of viewers. As they proceeded to the communication center, Dominic reflected on the journey. There had been dangers, uncertainties, and prejudice along the way. The "Humanity First" movement had gained followers, as had similar purist factions among centurions. Yet for each voice of opposition, many more had risen in support of the children and what they represented. The 6 hybrid children took their positions before the camera, their posture displaying both centurion dignity and human expressiveness. Lyria stepped forward as their chosen spokesperson. "Greetings to the peoples of Earth and Centuria," she began, her young voice steady and clear. "We are the first of something new. Not human, not centurion, but a bridge between worlds. We thank you for your protection and your patience as we grow. We promise to learn from both our heritages and to help build a future where differences are celebrated, not feared." As the transmission ended and congratulations filled the room, Captain Dominic Farrell felt a profound sense of privilege. He had witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary, not just the birth of 6 hybrid children, but perhaps the birth of a new understanding of what family, community, and belonging could mean across the stars. The human and centurion crew members moved among each other with the ease of people who had transcended their differences through shared purpose. The nursery that had been hastily assembled a year ago had grown into something much larger, a nursery for new ideas, new relationships, and new possibilities. Out in the vastness of space, aboard a station once named for harmony as an aspiration, that harmony had become a living reality. And 6 remarkable children, with the DNA of 2 worlds flowing through their veins, pointed the way toward a future limited only by imagination.